Good weekend, and welcome to another Satsang Weekend Workshop, where in under 1 hour you will learn a modern Satsang technique for obtaining peace, light, and love in your life. My name is Eddie, and I've been practicing Satsang for over 10 years. Today I will be introducing this event's facilitator, but first I'd like to give a brief introduction to the Satsang Workshop. If you'll direct your attention to your screen, you'll see that the first element is satsang. Satsang is a modern technique or a scientific technique for obtaining peace, light, and love in your life. It does not require any special physical skill nor prior spiritual accomplishment. Neither does it require any previous experience in meditation. Satsang consists of two words, sat and sang. Sat means positive energy, and sang means to be in the presence of. Therefore, satsang means to be in the presence of positive energy. The next element is meditation. Meditation is an important element of satsang. When we meditate, we direct our consciousness inward from worldly objects to a single thought, whereby our minds become calm and our thoughts become pure. Only then can we achieve higher states of consciousness such as enlightenment and joy and peace. Inner orientation. There are two types of satsang: outer satsang and inner satsang. An example of outer satsang would be chanting or attending pilgrimages. While practicing outer satsang, one can modify his behavior, but only through the practice of inner satsang can higher states of consciousness be achieved. The satsang method that you will learn today is an inner satsang technique wherein we meditate in silence. Group orientation. This weekend workshop is structured for group meditation and group participation. When we meditate as a group, our focus is enhanced and our spiritual progress is expedited. When we regularly attend these weekend workshops, the benefits of group participation, inner joy joy and inner happiness. All beings wish to experience joy. Joy is the longing desire of the soul. When we practice satsang, our inner happiness is continually increased, ultimately culminating in a state of joy, which only through the practice of satsang can we obtain the high state of joy. Agenda. Today's agenda consists of 3 sessions: the informative session, the practice session, and an interactive session. During the informative session, a lecture will be given about a satsang topic, the founder, or a topic related to some spiritual subject. During the practice session, instructions will be given on the meditation technique, followed by a period of practice. During the informative session, the interactive session, you have the opportunity to ask questions, or there'll be a panel discussion. And now, I'd like to introduce the facilitator for today's event. He has over 40 years of satsang experience. He's the grandson of Guru Maharaj. He was born into a satsang family where he experienced his members living in a life of peace, light, and love as they obtained enlightenment. Since coming to the United States, he and his wife have continued conducting satsang for satsangees. He presently travels throughout the United States and India conducting satsang while maintaining his duties as a husband, a father, and an IT executive. Today, he will teach us a rare and ancient form of satsang, which was taught by Guru Maharaj. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Sanjeev Kumarji.
So happy Saturday, everyone. So, we are getting closer to Guru Maharaj's birthday, so November 3rd, and looking forward to an in-person session after a while at Southbury, Connecticut, and of course, online as well. So these days, I think the topic that is going on, in my head in terms of, how we should talk about these sessions, and it's all, for some reason, is all getting centered into inner peace. Um, you know, where we should try to find inner peace, how we should try to get to inner peace, what are the hurdles and what are the solutions. And I'm thinking, so in September, we had a booklet on the overview of satsang, which thanks to Eddie, we get a glimpse in every one of these sessions. So we're now thinking about a booklet on inner peace, and I think we're still not sharing as much, or so I think that that needs to be taken care of, but hopefully before we get to November 3rd. So November 5th, there is a session. So that will be the Saturday 10 a.m. one. And then Sunday also, we are doing one at 11. And yeah, very looking forward to that. So I think one of the things that we were missing in the booklet we were trying to write on inner peace was so what is peace, and let's define it. And interestingly, I said, like, the 7 volume book that Guru Maharaj has written, there is a 18th chapter, which is, how, what's the mystery of peace, and I'm, you know, translating it a little liberally, and how it is connected to our thought processes. So that's the chapter. So right off the bat, he says, a place where the good and bad desires are not there. So he it literally hits at the core, uh, you know, um, and I like one of Buddha's quotes very much. All attachments are the cause of misery. But here, so let's go back to inner peace. So the good and bad desires are not there. So that's the place we want to be. Now, then he goes and takes the next step, which is where, because of the, success or unsuccess of getting to the desired uh, state, which is like, possession of some material things or whatever else. So where the completion, or not being able to complete the desired activity or task or acquisition, the resulting emotions of happiness, sadness, or attachment slash, I don't know what's the right word there, but like sometimes you start liking something too much, or sometimes you have the opposite effect, like, this is not the right thing, and I don't like it. And it's a love and hate kind of thing, right? And more materially speaking, and then anger, and you know maybe lust. So he talks about getting to a place where there is no good or bad desires, and where there is no emotional upheaval, the dual state of happiness, sadness, love, hate, um, you know, anger, and you know, opposite of that, which is like you are just caught up in the vicious cycle there. So the place which is devoid of that is the place of peace. So That state he calls peace. And then he says that if you then look, actually, this state is the real happiness. So, and somewhere else we have talked about inner happiness, and and then he goes further and he says, once you get to that place, that is enlightenment. Simple. So, in three sentences, he actually completely takes the whole full circle here. Um, and and he says that every person at the bottom of the heart is basically looking for peace because it's a natural characteristics, and and lots and lots, and obviously if everyone is looking for it, they do a lot of effort and work towards that. But unfortunately, um, there are very few who actually get to it. How ironic, right? So, um, you know, and then he also says that um, when somebody decides to walk towards peace, take some, makes effort towards that, then also it's almost known that, there are, and recently I was talking to Shivangi, and we were talking about, in one of his books on devotion, Guru Maharaj talks about not one, not two, but 12. He quotes another sage, but and he talks about 12 different challenges that come in the way towards you know this pursuit of peace. And then I'll probably talk a little more about that after this session. Uh, he says that if we look at all the challenges and hurdles towards the pursuit of peace, the biggest one, he says, is nothing but worry. So there is nothing that attracts and consumes uh, our mind and affects and distracts our mind like worry. um, he goes forward and says, like, once you are in the clutches of worry, uh, you know uh, basically he is very he just says, like, it just kind of in those clutches, it's hard to even get worldly, um, you know, success and desires. So you you can lose sleep, you can lose, um, not just and it affects our health, our body, our mind, our brain, and he goes on and on. So we'll talk more about that after the session. But let's the interesting thing about you know um, e- sometimes when I look at uh, the approach Guru Maharaj took on, uh, you know, how to orient people towards getting towards the land of peace. His primary focus was on making sure that there is a practice, there is an approach, and meditation is one of them. There are multiple ways to get there. So even within satsang, if you look, meditation is one of the processes. Service is another one. Just observing and following, the role model is, so basically, and even there's like not that much to do because, as we have talked about, like once you are at the top of the pyramid, and that applies to anyone, once at the top of the pyramid, uh, you are at peace, and everybody who comes in your contact would be at peace, and there's no effort on anybody's part. And that, like for people who are struggling to figure out where peace is and how, and making tons of effort, it is something that looks like, you know, really? So, but anyway, that is how simple and powerful systems work. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, truly incredible. So anyway, so let's practice because what I was saying, that the unique thing about his approach was, what are the practical ways to get people to progress towards peace or get there sooner rather than later. His entire focus, you know, simple process, simple colloquial language when he used to write and talk, would not even care if somebody is literate or illiterate. He is like, just, you know, follow some very basic principles and you can be at peace. That was his, MO. So yeah, let's practice the approach, and you know just by meditating, I think we physically, mentally, spiritually connect with peace in, you know, even if it is for that short period of time. So to do that, sit in a relaxed posture so that the body doesn't move and distract our mind. Eyes lightly closed for the same reason, and think of this transcendental energy in form of light in front of us, and it's entering our heart, distributing throughout our body, and we are getting completely immersed in this light. So mind will wander away, which is natural. And as soon as you realize that it has wandered away, just bring it back to this thought and this thought alone. So we can do other activity oriented things that help concentrate the mind before or after. But at this point, it's pure silence and observing this light in front of us, and that it's entering our heart, distributing throughout our body, and we are completely and totally getting immersed in it. We'll start with some music to transition in, but we continue to meditate on this energy which is right here, right now, and entering our heart and distributing throughout our body, and we are completely becoming one with this energy. Let's start now. So, so we were talking about peace. So the first thing was desires. So where good and bad desires are not there, that's the land of peace. And then where the um, when these desires don't take place or they do, the happiness, sadness, or love or hate or anger, etc., that shows up. So basically, um, desires and emotions, when we go beyond that, that's where peace is. Um, so then Guru Maharaj talks about in this chapter that worry is the biggest problem, um, and he says that is one of the most um, it 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 attracts the minds, and distracts the mind basically, and um, it affects your body, your mind, your brain, and you know so getting rid of worry, he says, is is peace. um, Now basically he goes on to say that the bondage we talk about, the unhappy state we talk about, all that he ties to um, worries, and then he defines worry as um, a almost like a non-stop cycle of thoughts without changing, and without getting to the like conclusion. So if you keep circling the same thought, and it just you know occupies your mind without stopping and without coming to any conclusion. um, so he says, like, a lot of times it will be like a movie that just keeps running, um, and that just um, impacts you so much. Um, and pardon me, I'm trying to read this, and you know, um, and just talking through it. It's so basically, so once you are in this vicious cycle, um, there is no peace. So even if you try, you just don't have enough inner strength to stop this cycle. Um, so then, so so he says that most of us are just caught up in things that are to be or things that have happened. So the future and the past is, you know, so we're guilty of some stuff that has happened. We're not happy with some stuff that has not happened. Uh, and then there is fear of something that might happen. Um, so he says, where there is fear, how would there be peace? So, um, you know, um, So then he says that uh, so almost like we lose control of this, you know, cycle of either present or past things. Sorry, the future, either the worry or fear of things that would happen in the future, or you know, things that have happened in the past that they keep coming. And the more we try to remove those things, the more reaction happens. So, this action and reaction not only continues to happen while we are awake, but it goes into our dream states, even in our meditation, even, you know, uh, he says, like, even those who have gone to much deeper state of meditation, even there, these things don't leave you. And it's not just uh, so mind, your body, your thought processes all get deeply affected. So um so then he says, like, for example, if say a wave of love comes in, and then it just sways you in that, uh so um so the same thing can happen. Like, there might be you know a barrage of things which are positive, and then things like fearful things could also occupy and make us very disturbed, as opposed to peaceful. um, so then he says, like, okay, so what do we do? So one of the things is to, and my father used to take that example quite a lot, that if you want to create a dam on a river, what engineers do is they create a canal, so the water pressure reduces and starts flowing in another direction. So he says that, and then he gives some examples in various scriptures. It is said that, you know take an opposite thought, um, and just divert. So this is like diversion, that you uh, take that step for. So a very solid, um, and like rock solid, um, thought, filled with, uh, you know um, like uh, so basically, uh, you know what would be the opposite of fear? Uh, so I think nirbheta. So it's like you take a rock solid, very positive thought, um, when you have a barrage of like fearful things coming at you. You ground yourself in a very positive thought. So that's what he's saying, that um, slowly, and keep pumping more energy, and focus on it, and make that much stronger within you. So that would be the counter offensive that you will take. Um, so basically, and then he goes like, so you have to figure out like what strong positive thought that you want to take to counter all the things that are affecting your peace. And then eventually he says that, um, get up in the morning for 5 minutes or so, just, you know, get like, be a magnet of positive energy. And, you know, so he talks about that he says is a good approach. Um, and then he says that if you start thinking that wherever I am in my present moment, that is the best possible thing. So so he gives an example that, like, let's say, there is something very dire going on, or a situation which uh, just makes a positive thought so almost impossible. He says, like, even there, you think about, like, when the doctor is operating, it's, to fix the problem. So he's saying that start, you know turning your thought processes positive even in the most negative situations. Um, and um, um, and then he ties that, and Shivangi, we were talking about this a little bit, like, uh, he says that all this, like, things that are tough, you know so you know what's the saying, that when things are rough, tough get going. So he is saying that the all this is actually increasing your tolerance, and um, you know increasing the tolerance, which elsewhere he talks about, like, that is one of the key things that we need to evolve within us. Then he turns and says, like, okay, so at the end, of it all, it's the thought process that peace, if we feel peaceful or not. So it's very closely tied to our thought processes. So he says, like, if our thoughts are peaceful, then we are peaceful. Um, so, uh, you know, so if we start thinking about misery, attachments, and then suddenly that peace goes away. Um, so, so then he quotes Maharishi Patanjali, that, he, in Yog Darshan, he talks about Yogash Chit Vritti Nirodha. So basically, Chit, which is the subconscious mind or the unconscious mind, when you, you know, stop. So the thought processes are in the mind, but the trigger, or the you know the the vibration that eventually becomes the thought, comes from the unconscious or the subconscious mind. And that, when we stop that process, that is when we get to yoga, or satsang. So basically, he's saying that the real peace is there. Um, the real happiness is there. So I think somebody will have to tell me to stop somewhere. so, um, uh, and then he continues to talk about that, um, you know, Um, so the mind, the subconscious mind, the brain, um, you know, so the mind has the willpower, the subconscious mind has the thought power, and then the brain has memory and decision making and the knowledge, um, all those capabilities. But somehow the mind, uh, can overpower the rest to create this almost like imbalance within us. And um, and so that is why the meditative methods and other things, are required, so that we, um, you know, not only stop the barrage within the mind, but then uh, get down to you know the subconscious mind, and which we cannot directly control. So those who think that they can get at peace without some meditative practices, so he is differentiating between dharana, dhyan, and samadhi here. So concentration, he says, is concentrating on one thing rather than getting, impacted by a barrage of thoughts. Concentrate on one thing. So that, yes, it is. It moves you towards uh, a better place, more peaceful, but it is just step one. uh, he says like dhyan or meditation is beyond that, beyond concentration. He actually, here he is talking about that, when you concentrate on whatever you want to manifest in your in your meditation, that concentration is step one. But meditation, he says, is not concentration. So dharana is not dhyan. So when you're trying to focus, uh, you're just taking the step. You're preparing for meditation, but you're not in meditation. Um, so he actually goes in and talks about like when um, uh, there is nothing. Yeah, he says like where there is no thought, where is no, um, you know, um, like the even the um, initiation of a desire, there is no worry. There is no, um, in that deep meditative state where you now do not know what is mine or yours. So all that is, that knowledge is gone. There is no desire, there is no happiness, there is no sadness. Um, so that is what he is calling meditation. Wow. I think for today that's a good, you know, um, it goes on and on. I think I need to finally take this chapter and create that booklet on inner peace now. This is deep. I'll pause here. So Eddie, Luz, Arvindji, any, how was this live translation?
It was very informative. Um, I mean, from what you introduced to us or told us about, we can gather um, or analyze the problems in this world and see where we are and where we have to go. There's so much worry. Um, there's so much. Um, thinking in the future and bringing up the past. And how do you find peace when that's the case? And so, when you were talking about peace and the things we needed to do, that sort of came to mind, and that's a problem. And so, in order to calm the mind, um, to prevent those thoughts from arising and causing disturbances within our body, and then affecting our emotions, i.e., anxiety. Um, we turn to medication basically to help us with that. And so, through satsang, we find that we can cleanse the mind. That these thoughts, I believe they're these thought waves. I'm going to pronounce it wrong, but it's like a vritti.
Mhm.
We can prevent those from rising, and so we can hold more pure thoughts, and then we don't need to medicate ourselves at that point. So satsang can do that for us. Um, and then we also learn the purpose of service from a sense of bringing ourselves peace, and that is when we perform service. There's a certain purity we feel in our heart, right? It's so cleansing, and when we perform service, it doesn't create these distracting thoughts or inharmonious thoughts, and fear and those things, they go away, right, when you do this service. And there is a sense of joy. And so by practicing service, we can, in a sense, achieve this thing called peace, in the temporal sense, and then in our long journey of trying to realize ourselves, or soul realization or enlightenment. So, I mean, there's a lot you said there, and there's a lot to think about, and there's a lot more to discuss. But I thought it was very interesting, and I was glad to hear it. Maybe we'll do this again.
Yeah, there's more to it. Yeah. So, Liz, or how are you? Happy Saturday.
Yeah, she's put in the chat that she can't talk today,
Oh,
um, but she's here with us.
okay. So, Arvindji, anything?
Namaskar, bhaiya.
Uh,
Word of Guru Maharaj comes to us through you, and we're fortunate to receive it. Really, I mean, you said, you said to us, you reminded us that the cognitive dissonance, the stressful worry, anxiety, and fear that drive our emotions and thoughts into a restless state of mind that take us away from peace. The way perhaps to neutralize those negatives is to look towards a positive, is to do the opposite, you said. And that, is I humbly think that that is the key, to brought an example of somebody who's drowning in a very, vast lake or sea, and they fight. Eh, The more they fight, the more they tire, the more they risk drowning. The giving up and floating on the water, in other words, floating on Guru Maharaj's grace and thought, and surrendering one's distressful, negative thoughts, emotions, the intellect, what one clings on to, the intellect of one's mind, the eye, the big eye, and all the physical aspects that draw one towards negativity, surrendering that to that power, is I think crucial if peace is to stay with us for any significant period of time. And frankly, it's like, somebody's car has stalled on the freeway, and then suddenly you come and fill them up with gas for free or charge the car up and it gets going. So that's satsang is pretty much appears to be like that, brings peace, bliss, and allows you to carry the journey of life.
wow.
For that, we're fortunate. Thank you so much, Pujabe. That was so nice to hear today, what you described. Thank you.
So, Shivangi, Ajita, anything you want to add before we wrap up?
Namaste, Bhayaji. Namaste,
Namaskar.
everyone. No, I mean, I think you were addressing the questions on my mind and things I was thinking about. So, nothing to ask further. I think what you said, we have discussed it in other forms, but I think it's hard to do. But I think that's what we need to do. We need to focus on the positive, and so yeah, thank you for describing that.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that he's saying that from barrage of thoughts come to one thought, and in some ways replace bad thoughts with good thoughts first, but then you have to take away those as well. So that, and then in a more, academic way, he says like dharana, dhyan, and samadhi. So basically, he's saying concentration is not meditation, which I think is a good uh, thing to talk about because these days, like meditation has become a fashion, and people are not realizing that there is, various layers of cake, and just taking one step is good. I mean, absolutely good, but that's not the end game. Um, he actually talks about like even when you are blanking your mind in certain ways at the lower level, that's not the goal. That's not the desired state. Um, so yeah. So Ajita, anything before we wrap up?
It was a great session, Bhaiya. That's yeah. That's a
Yeah.
was a very happy and fortunate to attend.
Yeah, just tells me how much work I got to do, but so I hope that some of this will start translating into a booklet at least. All right. On that note, happy Saturday, everyone, and just one word of caution that I think I am moving this back to Zoom, which we started these sessions on Zoom, and then there was some, not very, there was some hijacking of the meeting and all that. And we thought, well, I like this platform, but, Meetup and Eventbrite and some other integrations that are happening on Zoom, I think we want to go back there. So there might be some information, links, emails. So look for that. Next Saturday, we might be on Zoom. So look for details.
Yay.
So, Warren, anything good to hear from you? So, anything before your wrap up thought?
Well, it's great to hear we're going back to Zoom because it's so much easier. But
Much easier.
yeah,
Much
great
easier. Yeah.
session. Great session. I was just thinking about laying in bed and twisting and turning, just thinking about the early part of the day and the negative things that happen. You can't go to sleep, but
Yeah.
it's time to go to sleep. So I
Yeah.
got to get those negative things out of your mind, and it's rest time. But awesome session. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Have a good day and good weekend ahead, and the rest of the weekend and the good week ahead. See you all soon. So bye, Eddie, Arvindji, Warren, Luz, Shivangi, Ajita, um, Himanshu,
Yeah.
Yuan.